Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something really fundamental about money, but maybe in a way you haven't thought about much. It's this idea, kind of counterintuitive really, that big financial problems, they rarely start with one giant, obvious mistake.
Exactly. We all worry about, a market crash or losing a job, the big headlines. But honestly, based on what we see in financial patterns, most people don't suddenly go broke.
No, it's much quieter than that.
It's slow. It's like a tiny leak in a pipe, this sort of silent erosion of your cash flow, driven by these small, almost invisible costs.
Yeah.
We've been digging into this, and we're calling them the quiet costs.
Right, the quiet cost. And look, if you, the learner listening right now, feel like you're making decent money, maybe even more than before, but somehow there's just not much left at the end of the month. Well, this deep dive is definitely for you because it's probably not that one-off $1,000 emergency buy that's sinking you.
hmm Much more likely it's the $5 here, the $10 there, maybe $20 that feels like nothing. But they happen so often, and crucially, they're often automated, so they just fly completely under the radar.
So our mission today is pretty clear. We want to drag these hidden drains, these quiet costs, out into the open.
Yeah, let's shine a light on them. Turn these invisible things you pay for into visible, conscious choices you can actually make.
Because the core idea here is really powerful, isn't it? The difference between being financially secure and slowly kind of drifting towards trouble. It's not just about how much you earn. It's about spotting and plugging these little automated leaks before, the whole ship goes down.
Absolutely. Let's get into what makes these costs so sneaky, so effective at draining your wealth without you even noticing.
Okay, let's kick off with something that feels very modern, very tech-driven. The danger of convenience, really. This first category is all about how we kind of set up systems that are almost designed to take small amounts of money from us regularly. We're calling it the invisible automation trap. And the absolute classic example has to be the subscription trap.
Oh, yeah. This one's fascinating because it starts so small, so innocently. You sign up for one streaming service for that show everyone's talking about, or maybe you get a fitness app. You're super motivated for like 2 weeks. Or you need a bit more cloud storage. It's only $4.99 a month. It feels completely harmless in isolation. Little things.
But they don't stay isolated, do they? When you actually look at the data, like from spending trackers, it's kind of alarming. The average person often has, 10, maybe 15 different subscriptions running? Music, video, gaming, news sites, maybe some productivity tools, identity protection.
All that stuff, yeah. And a lot of them haven't actually been used in months.
Right, and when you add it all up, it's easily hundreds of dollars a month.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a serious chunk of your grocery budget just
Yeah.
evaporating.
And the real kicker, the psychological trick here, is that automation. Once you set up that recurring payment, your brain basically files it away. It's like rent or, your phone bill. A fixed cost. You might see it on your statement, but because you didn't actively choose to pay it that month, the mental pain of spending is gone. It just becomes this invisible tax you pay without thinking.
You just accept it's gone. You're not thinking, am I getting value for this anymore?
Precisely. The value equation is forgotten.
Okay, but auditing this stuff.
Yeah.
You mentioned quarterly audits. That sounds frankly kind of tedious, like old school budgeting that nobody sticks with.
It can sound like a chore, I get that. But think of it more like essential maintenance, like getting your car service. It doesn't need to be this huge, painful budget review every time. Maybe just 30 minutes once every 3 months, scan those recurring charges. And the goal isn't to become some extreme penny pincher.
Right.
It's just about alignment, making sure you're actually using what you pay for. And that's where the 30-day rule comes in. Super simple.
Okay, what's that?
If you honestly can't remember using that specific streaming service or that app or whatever it is in the last 30 days, cancel it right then and there. No hesitation.
Okay, I like that. It's decisive. And the impact is immediate, right? You cancel, say, 3 subscriptions that are maybe $18 each.
Yep, that's $54 back in your pocket every single month.
$54.
And here's where we need to connect that seemingly small saving to the bigger picture. That $54 a month, that's over $640 a year. Now, what if, instead of letting that drift away on forgotten subs, you took that $640 and put it into, say, a simple index fund?
Ah, the investment angle.
Exactly. Let compounding do its work over 10, 15 years. Those few canceled subscriptions could literally grow into thousands of dollars of actual wealth. You're not just saving $54, you're actually building a tiny little wealth engine.
Okay, that makes sense. So moving on from stuff we set up ourselves, let's talk about the fees that kind of sneak up on us, the fees you don't see. This feels like the financial industry's little game sometimes, the whole nickel and dime effect.
Oh, absolutely. This is all about those small, often ignored charges that banks, credit card companies, even apps kind of slip in there. They often rely on the fact that people are busy or maybe just trust the system too much to check every little line item. These are usually charges that, with a bit of attention, are completely avoidable.
Yeah, we all know the big ones, right? Like the, ouch, $35 overdraft fee. Or when you're desperate for cash and use the wrong ATM, bang, $5 fee. Late payment penalties that jack up your interest rate.
Those are painful, but there are subtler ones too, like those currency conversion fees, maybe 3%, that banks quietly add when you use your card overseas. You barely notice it transaction by transaction.
Or the annual fee on a credit card you signed up for years ago and forgot about, buried in the fine print.
Exactly. And the total cost can be pretty frightening. Some studies tracking common banking fees found that for someone who isn't super vigilant, it's actually easy to rack up $25, even $40 a month, just in these kinds of unnecessary charges.
Wow, so even on the low end, say $25 a month?
That's $300 a year. Just
Yeah.
hold on. Paid for absolutely nothing. You get zero value back. It's purely a tax on, well, maybe not paying close enough attention or sticking with an inefficient bank.
$300 is not nothing. That's a decent dinner out or part of a weekend trip. So how do we fight back? How do we stop just accepting this?
It really comes down to vigilance, system vigilance. You gotta stop just assuming the bank has your best interests at heart. Step one, obviously read your statements, actually read them.
Okay.
But step two is maybe using automation for you. Set up alerts, low balance warnings, alerts for any charge over a certain amount that isn't a standard bill. And critically, be willing to switch. Why stick with the big old bank that charges $5 for out-of-network ATMs when there are credit unions or newer digital banks offering zero fees for that?
Good point. Be proactive.
Yeah. If you want your money to grow, you need to keep as much of it as possible. And that means actively hunting down and eliminating these pointless fees.
That leads nicely into our third drain in this section, which is also about behavior. Paying for convenience. It feels like modern life is basically built around tempting us to pay a premium for speed and ease.
It really is. We've been conditioned, haven't we, to believe our time is so precious that we need to outsource every tiny bit of friction, and that shows up everywhere. Food delivery, same-day shipping, relying on pre-made, often expensive daily items.
Let's try and put some numbers on this convenience tax, because I think this is where money just vanishes incredibly fast. Think about ordering lunch, say a $15 meal. Order it on an app. Okay, now add
Right.
a service fee, maybe $3. Delivery fee, maybe $4. Got a tip, maybe 20% of the $3.
Right.
Suddenly that $15 lunch is actually $25. You paid a 66% markup, basically, just for the convenience of not walking 10 minutes or, making a sandwich at home.
It's a huge premium when you frame it like that. And then there's the classic example, the one everyone talks about, the daily habit cost, like the $6 fancy coffee.
Oh, yes, a coffee.
$6 feels like nothing, right? It's just coffee. But do that every workday. That adds up to over $1,500 a year. Gone.
Wow.
But it's often not just the coffee cost itself. It represents a mindset, doesn't it? A broader convenience lifestyle. You're already out, so maybe you grab a quick, expensive lunch, too. Or hit the vending machine later. The coffee isn't the isolated cost. It's often the gateway to a whole system of small, daily, expensive choices.
So the key question we need to force ourselves to ask to kind of break that automatic habit is this. Am I paying for an actual necessity here, or am I really just paying for comfort?
Exactly. Because when that comfort purchase becomes a daily thing, it stops feeling like a treat. It just becomes your new, higher baseline standard of living. And that new baseline, it's a financially draining lifestyle that's quietly eating away at your future savings.
You have to be really honest with yourself.
Brutally honest. If you're spending $1,500 a year just to avoid, say, 10 minutes of making coffee at home, you're implicitly valuing your own prep time at a ridiculously high hourly rate. Maybe an unsustainable one.
Okay, so we've covered those recurring drains, the ones that hit your account month after month. Now let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about two factors that work against you more subtly, using time and interest as weapons. These are the silent killers of future wealth.
Yes. These are insidious because they often don't feel like immediate costs.
And the biggest one probably starts with something most people with credit cards know about, the minimum payment trap.
Oh, it's a devastatingly effective strategy for credit card companies. I mean, let's be blunt. Their business model isn't selling you things, it's selling you debt. They want you to stay in debt. So they design that minimum payment to be just low enough that you feel you can manage it, but often just barely covering the interest, maybe a tiny bit of principal. It keeps you hooked for years, sometimes decades.
Let's make this real with that nightmare math example we looked at. Imagine you have, say, a $2,000 balance on a credit card, and the interest rate is high, but not unusual, maybe 20%.
Right.
If you only pay the minimum required each month, maybe that's only $40 or $50, how long does it take to pay off?
It's shocking. Easily 15 years, maybe longer, depending on the exact terms. 15 years to pay off a $2,000 purchase.
15 years. And the cost.
Absolutely staggering. When you run those numbers on that original $2,000, you'll likely end up paying an extra $1,500, maybe even $1,800 just in interest. You've almost doubled the price of whatever you bought.
Doubled the price. Wow.
Interest on revolving debt like that. It's not just a fee. It's like a force actively working against you, constantly eating away at your money.
And that brings up a really crucial, maybe slightly more abstract concept you mentioned, opportunity cost.
Yes,
Yeah.
because when you're stuck paying minimums for years, you're actually losing out in two ways. First, obviously, there's the money you originally spent, plus all that insane interest.
Right, the direct cost.
But second, you lose the potential growth. What could that money you paid in interest have earned if you weren't paying down debt? Let's take that $1,500 in extra interest from our example. If you'd managed to pay off the card quickly, say in a year, and instead invested that $1,500 for maybe 5 years at an average 8% return, that $1,500 could have grown to nearly $2,200. So the debt didn't just cost you the $1,500 fee, it cost you the $700 in growth you missed out on as well. Your capital was tied up fighting debt instead of building wealth.
It's actively preventing you from getting ahead.
Completely.
So the clear solution, the immediate action, is always pay more than the minimum, even if it's just a little bit extra.
Absolutely. Every single extra dollar counts. Think about debt repayment methods like the snowball or avalanche, but add a psychological boost. Frame it this way. Every extra dollar you throw at the principal isn't just saving you future interest. It is, as some sources vividly put it, a day of freedom earned.
I like that. A day of freedom.
It drastically cuts down the repayment time, frees up your cash flow much faster, and lets you flip the script, turn that negative compounding of debt into the positive compounding of wealth through investing.
Okay. The second silent killer is related, but maybe feels even less tangible. It's the cost of procrastination. This is about delay. Delaying paying off debt, yes, but also delaying getting your budget optimized, or, crucially, delaying starting to invest. It's a loss of opportunity you literally can never get back.
Right. This isn't a fee you see on a statement, but the financial loss can be massive. And it hinges on the power of compound growth, which, let's face it, our brains aren't really wired to grasp intuitively. It's not linear.
Time. Time is the magic ingredient.
Time is your single most valuable asset when it comes to building wealth. More valuable than the amount you start with, often.
And we looked at a really stark example to show just how nonlinear this is.
Yeah.
Let's say you have two people. Both plan to invest $300 every month, aiming for an average 8% return until they retire.
Okay. Standard scenario.
Person A starts doing this at age 25. Person B waits just 10 years and starts at age 35. Same amount, same return. Just a decade difference in starting.
And the difference in the outcome at retirement. It's genuinely shocking.
Yeah.
Person B, the one who waited 10 years, they end up with approximately $500,000 less, $500,000 less.
$500,000. Just from waiting 10 years.
Yep. That $500,000 gap is the price tag of procrastination. It's not just the missed contributions over those 10 years, that's only $36,000. It's the decades of lost compounding growth on those early contributions.
Wow. Okay, that really drives home the urgency, doesn't it?
It really should. We tend to think money grows steadily, like walking up a gentle hill, but compounding is different. It's slow at first, almost invisible, until it isn't, and then the growth accelerates dramatically.
Like a snowball rolling downhill.
Exactly. So starting now, even if it feels like a tiny amount, is critical because it gives your money the longest possible time to benefit from that acceleration. Some people call it the first check rule.
Meaning?
The most important investment check you ever write isn't the biggest one. It's the very first one, no matter how small, because that's the money that gets the longest runway to grow.
All right, let's pivot now. We've talked about external systems and the effect of time. Now let's look inward at the psychological traps, the status games we play with ourselves that quietly drain our money from the inside out.
Yeah, these are driven by our own behaviors and mindset.
And the first one. This one is maybe the most dangerous because it actually feels like success. It's lifestyle inflation.
Oh, this is a big one. And so common. It's that thing where almost automatically, as soon as your income goes up, you get a raise, a bonus, a better paying job. Your spending rises right along with it.
Instead of banking the difference.
Exactly. Instead of letting your net worth actually grow, you immediately upgrade your baseline.
Yeah, the slightly nicer car with the higher payment, the bigger apartment in the better neighborhood, more rent, going out to eat more often instead of cooking.
So your income went up, which feels great, but your fixed expenses also went up, maybe by the same amount. So your actual free cash flow, the money left over, it stays exactly the same or sometimes even shrinks.
It's like running faster but staying in the same place financially.
That's a great way to put it. Psychologists sometimes call it the hedonic treadmill. You need constant upgrades just to maintain the same level of feeling good or successful. And it creates this powerful illusion of wealth. You are earning more, technically, but because your lifestyle consumes it all, you're still feeling, broke at the end of the month. You look richer, perhaps, but your financial foundation isn't any stronger.
There was a really clean formula in the research for defining wealth, cutting through that illusion. It's not about how much you make.
Right. Wealth isn't your income number. It's the gap between what you earn and what you spend, what you actually keep.
Let's make that concrete. Say person A earns $60,000 a year and manages to live on $30,000. Their wealth gap is $30,000.
Okay.
Now, person B earns double, $120,000. But because of lifestyle inflation, the fancy car, the big mortgage, the expensive holidays, they spend $90,000.
Their gap is also $30,000.
Exactly. Person B has much higher income, looks wealthier on paper, but in terms of building actual financial security year over year, they're in the same position as person A. Their lifestyle ate their advantage.
Wow. That's powerful.
So the strategy here, it takes serious discipline, doesn't it, when your income does go up?
You have to resist the urge to upgrade immediately. The advice is try to keep your lifestyle exactly the same for a set period, maybe 6 months, ideally a whole year. Take the entire difference, that raise or bonus, and aggressively save or invest it. You have to consciously, intentionally widen that gap between earning and spending.
And the payoff down the road.
It's huge.
Yeah.
If you can build the habit of living on, say, $60 while you're earning $90K, that's $30,000 a year working for your future, building real wealth, instead of just being spent to maintain a slightly higher standard of living today.
Okay, next internal trap. This one feels smaller, almost trivial, but it adds up. Impulse buying and those little small rewards.
Ah, yes. This taps into something called mental accounting. It's how our brains kind of categorize money. Big purchases, a house, a car, we scrutinize those intensely, right? But small, daily, buys the coffee, a snack, a cheap gadget online, maybe a lottery ticket. We tend to file those under miscellaneous or fun money. They don't feel like they count against our serious financial goals.
And we justify them, don't we? I worked hard today. I deserve this little treat.
Totally. We frame them as rewards for just getting through the day or the week. It's that little dopamine hit of buying something new.
I mean, I'll admit it. I've definitely bought silly kitchen gadgets online thinking, yeah, I earned this after that stressful project. We all do it to some extent.
Of course, but the cumulative damage when you actually track it can be genuinely astonishing.
Quantify it for us.
Okay, let's be conservative. Say just $10 a day on these kinds of impulse buys or small rewards. A coffee and a pastry, maybe a cheap item on Amazon, whatever. $10 a day.
Doesn't sound like much.
But do that every day. That's over $3,600 a year. Just vanished on small, often forgettable things.
$3,600. Okay, when you say it like that, it sounds like real money.
Exactly. And you have to reframe what that $3,600 represents. It's not just gone. That $3,600 could have been a really nice week-long vacation. Or it could fully fund an emergency cushion for a few months. Or it's a significant chunk towards your first investment goal.
So it stops being a harmless little reward and becomes a major opportunity cost. A tangible thing you didn't get because you spent it on impulse buys.
Precisely. Which is why impulse control really is wealth control at this level. And the sources suggest a practical strategy for this, something to break the immediate urge. The 48-hour rule.
Okay, tell me about the 48-hour rule.
For any non-essential impulse purchase you're about to make, especially online, you force yourself to wait 48 hours. Put it in the cart, but don't buy it.
Let the initial excitement cool off.
Exactly. That dopamine rush, that emotional urge, it usually fades quite quickly. If after 2 full days you still genuinely want and need that item, okay, maybe it moves from impulse to a considered purchase.
But most of the time,
Most of the time, you'll find the desire has passed. You've forgotten about it or realized you didn't really need it, and boom, you've saved the money without feeling like you desperately deprived yourself.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I did.
It builds in a pause.
And that leads us right into the deeper emotional driver behind a lot of this, the emotional spending loop.
Right. This is about recognizing when we're spending, not because we need something, but because of how we feel.
Yeah, identifying those trigger emotions. Stress is a huge one. Boredom, sadness. Sometimes even excitement or celebration can lead to reckless spending. We use buying things as a way to kind of self-medicate or seek temporary comfort.
The classic retail therapy response. Feeling down after a tough day at work, go buy some new clothes, order a fancy takeaway, get the latest gadget.
And the relief is instant, isn't it? You get that immediate buzz, but it fades really fast.
And the credit card bill, that doesn't fade.
Nope, that sticks around. The exchange rate is terrible, really. You're trading lasting financial peace of mind for a very short-term emotional fix.
So the trick is catching yourself before you click buy or hand over the card. Recognizing that feeling, that urge to spend because you're stressed or bored.
Yes, pausing in that moment is key. And then actively choosing a different action. Something that gives you a similar psychological release but doesn't cost money or even builds value.
Like what? What are the alternatives?
Well, simple things first. Just pause, take 5 deep breaths, go for a brisk walk, get some physical movement, change your environment, cook a meal that can be really grounding and productive, or, even better, channel that energy into something positive long-term. Read a chapter of a book on a skill you want to learn, maybe even personal finance. Invest in yourself, not just in stuff. Breaking that loop is crucial.
Okay, let's wrap up with our final section. 2 more huge drains, and these really stem from just not paying attention, from neglect and a lack of awareness.
Yeah, these underpin a lot of the other traps, in a way.
Point 9 is neglecting maintenance. And this isn't just about money, but about physical things, the high cost of putting off upkeep on your assets.
Right. This applies to everything you own that requires some care. Your car, your home, even things like good quality shoes or electronics. The pattern is always the same. Putting off small maintenance inevitably leads to a much bigger, much more expensive problem later.
Deferred maintenance costs multiply.
Hugely. Think about the classic examples. Skipping a basic $50 oil change for your car. You risk letting small engine issues develop, which could eventually lead to a $2,000 engine repair bill.
Ouch.
Or at home. Ignoring that small leak under the sink or a little damp patch in the attic, that seems minor, but it can quickly lead to serious water damage, mold problems, maybe even structural issues that cost 10 times, 20 times more to fix than the original small repair would have.
And it's not just the big things, right? You mentioned shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the difference between, say, buying one good quality winter coat and taking care of it, cleaning it properly, maybe minor repairs, versus buying a cheap, fast fashion coat every single year because the old one fell apart.
The constant replacement cycle.
Exactly. The lesson is fundamental. Maintaining the assets you already have prevents the constant need to replace them. And that constant replacement cycle, often driven by neglect or buying cheap stuff in the first place, that's a major factor that keeps people financially stressed. Wealthy habits often involve maintenance and preservation. Struggling habits involve constant replacement and reaction.
Which brings us perfectly to the final point, number 10. And maybe this is the biggest hidden cost of them all, the one that allows all the others to thrive. Ignoring your financial awareness.
This is the ultimate quiet cost. It's the cost of just assuming everything's fine,
No.
operating on autopilot financially. Most people, let's be honest, don't regularly check their credit reports. They don't audit the fees on their investment accounts. They don't shop around for better insurance rates every year. They definitely don't scrutinize every bank fee.
They just assume the system is kind of working okay for them in the background.
Right. Until it isn't. Until a crisis hits, maybe an unexpected medical bill, a big tax surprise, a layoff, and suddenly they look closely and realize they've been bleeding money through fees, bad rates, or missed opportunities for years. They've paid a massive premium for their lack of attention.
Financial ignorance is expensive, period.
Undeniably. But the good news here is really important. You don't need to become a Wall Street expert overnight. You don't need a finance degree.
You just need to be attentive.
Attentive and systematic. That's it.
So what are the practical steps? How do you cultivate that awareness?
It involves building simple, repeatable habits. Stop just glancing at your main checking account balance. Actually scroll through the transaction history once a week, see where the money went. Commit maybe just for 3 months, to actually tracking your spending, not guessing, not budgeting in theory, but seeing the reality of where every dollar goes. Use an app, a spreadsheet, whatever works. Understand the basics. How is interest actually calculated on your credit card? What fees are being taken out of your retirement savings? Just knowing these things is powerful.
Because awareness changes everything.
It's the transformer. It takes these costs that were hidden, invisible, and drags them into the light. It turns them back into conscious choices. And once you see the drain, you finally have the power to decide if that cost is actually worth the value you're getting. Or if it's time to plug the leak. #outro.
So if we pull all of this together, the big theme today is pretty clear. Your wealth, your financial stability, it usually doesn't vanish overnight in some big dramatic explosion.
No, it leaks away.
Silently, yeah. It drains away through those forgotten subscriptions, the little convenience habits that become expensive routines, the lifestyle that creeps up automatically with your income, and all those ignored fees and interest charges. The common thread is invisibility.
hmm And the solution, crucially, isn't about becoming some miserable Scrooge, denying yourself any pleasure in life. Extreme frugality rarely sticks. The real solution is just profound awareness, really knowing where your money is going, and then making sure it's flowing towards things that actually align with what you value, with your future goals. Maximize that wealth gap we talked about.
Yeah, that core lesson feels really important. Financial freedom, at its heart, is about keeping more of what you already have. It's not just about chasing a bigger paycheck.
Absolutely. You simply cannot out-earn consistently poor spending habits if the leaks are big enough. The bucket will always empty.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to take away and reflect on. Think about your own quiet costs. We've covered 10 potential leaks today.
Remember, small leaks sink big ships eventually.
Yeah.
What if you committed to closing just one of those leaks we talked about today? Maybe finally doing that subscription audit or setting up that extra payment on your credit card. What powerful change could that single focused action create in your financial life over the next year? Think about that ripple effect, that compounding effect.
Take this knowledge, make those invisible costs visible choices, and start plugging those leaks. Don't forget to subscribe. And thanks for watching.